Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss, where today I'll be going over 10 differences you can expect to see in the new Justice League Snyder Cut movie, set to be released on March 18th, 2021, from the original version released in 2017. I think the biggest gripe I hear from people online is that they are not sure if they should be excited about a movie that they think they have already watched. Well, I can tell you that from all the changes and reshoots and things behind the scenes that occurred to make this version possible, we will be getting a new narrative with a completely different tone. Also expect to see scenes that were shown in the prior film to be completely different in this one. Expect each member of the Justice League to have a new character arc for them during this movie. Not to mention the new characters we will be seeing, and the extended nightmare sequence that was shown briefly in Batman vs Superman, in which we see a world ravaged by one of the characters that I will mention. There are more plot leaks out there due to a story treatment that was released, but I tried not to include many of them so that we can all enjoy the movie when it comes out. If you enjoy this video, please hit that like button for me, and this is always more fun when I hear from you, so let me know in the comments if you are psyched for this movie to be released. Okay, so let's get into the 10 things that will be different in the Justice League Snyder Cut movie. The tone. So it is hard to talk about the Snyder Cut without first discussing what has happened to get us here. The abridged version is that Zack Snyder had a vision of a movie and was in the middle of filming and producing it when the studio got cold feet due to the success of the MCU movies. They felt that the movie that he was filming was too dark and were fighting him to make big changes. During this time, Mr. Snyder also suffered the loss of his daughter, and the grief of that loss forced him to leave the project. The studio used this time to hire Joss Whedon, who is everyone's favorite director right now, but at the time was still highly sought after because of the success of the first phase of MCU movies, of which he was a big contributor of. Whedon changed the tone of this movie by completely reshooting scenes and changing character arcs to try and create a lighter tone. What was created was more of a Frankenstein's monster of a movie made from the visions of two directors plus a studio. When fans learned that there was another cut of the movie made with scenes that were filmed from before the change of directors, a rather large movement was formed online, and eventually Zack Snyder was asked to return and given a budget to finish his version of the movie. I think it is also important to understand the importance the pandemic played in this decision. The current state of theaters is making it very difficult for studios to produce and release new movies, so the prospect of giving a limited budget to basically create a new movie from the scraps of another was a much more tantalizing project to the studio. But even more important, the studio does now consider this new version the canonical version of the film and the one in which the other DCEU movies, such as Aquaman and their Wonder Woman movies, are now connected to. Because of all of this, the studio gave Snyder as much as $30 million to complete his version of the film, which will return it to its original and more darker tone. We can also see from the trailers that the bright orange sky from the latter part of the original movie looks much more realistic now, and I always really hated that color choice, as I thought it was just the effects people trying to cover up bad CGI. The nightmare. Probably the one sequence that everyone is aware of that will be fleshed out in the Justice League Snyder Cut is the nightmare sequence that first appeared as a dream in Batman vs Superman, but was not really referenced again. Without going into too many spoilers that may ruin the surprises for you, this will be a pivotal new sequence in the movie, and some people are saying that 1 hour of the 4-hour movie may be spent in this time. But basically, this is the future that Bruce Wayne saw when he was visited by the Flash in said movie, and involves rallying whatever heroes and villains are left as humanity's last stand. From the most recent trailer, we can see that Jared Leto's Joker has returned, and his look has been changed a bit since his appearance in Suicide Squad. Zack Snyder felt this scene was very important because this will be the first time Ben Affleck and the Joker share a scene together. Also on the team, we can see Cyborg in the background, but it is rumored that Mara, played by Amber Heard, and Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello, will be returning, as well as possibly Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Expect to see a different version of Superman in these scenes, as well as the next character on this list. Darkseid. Although the name is mentioned in the first Justice League, Darkseid was always meant to be the big bad of the movie, and from the looks of the trailers, that is exactly what we are going to see in this new version. Some people get confused by Darkseid's main goal, which is something called the anti-life equation. But the easiest way for me to break it down for you is to think of the effect that the news has on people. When something bad enough happens, it causes horrible repercussions in society, like increased suicide rates, violence, and insurrection, and that is exactly what the anti-life equation does, but at the comic book level. It spreads through a society and makes them so scared that they give up their obedience and become parademons. Again, this is the Cliff Notes version, but if you have a better way to explain it, please let me know in the comments, because I know this is something that a lot of people get hung up on. But basically, if Darkseid has control of this, he can rule the Earth, and he needs something from Superman as well as the Mother Boxes to achieve this. Steppenwolf, who gets a brand new skin for this movie, is his uncle, but works with him, as does Desaad, who is like Darkseid's second in command, as well as Granny Goodness, who is in command of the Parademons lines, and to me looks a lot like Brienne of Tarth in the trailer. All these characters were in the original script but thrown away, partially due to the similarities to the plot of Infinity War, but to be fair, Darkseid appeared years before Thanos did in the comics, so if anything, DC should have dibs on this story. Superman. Each member of the Justice League goes through a new arc, but the one that will go through the largest change is probably the Man of Steel. I always thought that his scenes were the worst in the original Justice League, as he just looked so out of place to me, and his arc was so rushed that I didn't really understand it until after I saw the movie a couple of times. This time there will be a lot more focus on Superman, and some of the biggest moments in the new film will come from events involving him, some of which we have seen already but will be shown again in a different context. We also get to see the famed black suit, which is from the comics and was created so that when Kal-El is weak, the suit will absorb the power of the sun more rapidly and thus heal him quicker. His relationships with Lois Lane as well as Bruce Wayne will be focal points of the narrative and will lead him to make drastic measures down a much darker path than we have probably ever seen a superhero take on screen. I'm looking forward to seeing what this new Superman will bring to the story and how the heroes will deal with his choices. Batman. I've always been a fan of Ben Affleck as Batman, as I enjoy his road-weary take on a character that has been fighting an uphill battle for over 20 years. He is obviously the character we follow for the most of the story, and from what I've heard that will not change, but we will see him interacting more with his teammates, as well as some new heroes that we did not see in the first version. It is rumored that Batman will learn of the Green Lanterns and attempt to make contact with them, and we may see one or two in the movie, but don't expect to see Hal Jordan. Also, Harry Lennox, who played General Swanwick in the first two movies featuring Superman, will be revealed to be the disguise of the Martian Manhunter, and Bruce Wayne will try and recruit him as well for their cause. We are also set to learn more about the death of Robin, who apparently was the Dick Grayson version of the character, not the Jason Todd version as in the comics, as well as why Wayne Manor has been burned to the ground by the time we see it. He is also set to share some pivotal scenes with Lois Lane that have been changed from the earlier version. Wonder Woman. The one character whose arc really made no sense in the Justice League was Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, and the Snyder Cut is set to rectify those mistakes. During the movie, Bruce makes it a point to goad Diana into admitting that she closed herself off from helping people for all the years from her appearance during World War I until we see her in Batman vs. Superman. But earlier in the same film, she stops a terrorist group from killing a bunch of people, and if you saw Wonder Woman 84, you know that she saved the world then, so this really does not make sense. Well, even though Diana may lose her way a bit in the Snyder Cut, this will be explained because of an event that we see occur in this film. It looks like the scene with the terrorists at the beginning of the film will not go down the same way, and the result will have Diana questioning her place and role in the world. The scenes in Themyscira in which Steppenwolf arrives are said to be much more epic as well, with a longer and bloodier fight than the one we saw. We also see Diana learn the story of Darkseid from the markings in an ancient temple, instead of having Diana just show up and know everything about the character like we got in the first version. Cyborg and Star Labs. Another controversy that erupted from the filming of this movie was the treatment of the actors on set, and Ray Fisher, the actor who played Cyborg, was the most vocal individual in this controversy. There are rumors that because of this, most of his best scenes were left out of the movie, as he was meant to be a much more focal point of the story, described as the heart by Zack Snyder. Star Labs, the facility where his father works and where he was ultimately created, was supposed to be featured much more, as well as the character Ryan Choi, who in the comics becomes the hero the Atom, and more scenes with his father, Silas Stone, played by Joe Morton. Another aspect that was lost in the first film was how Cyborg interacts with the Mother Boxes, which we will see a dreamlike sequence instead of him just standing in front of them and yelling. His abilities will also be upgraded a bit, as in the trailer we see him brandish many different guns at once. I thought Ray Fisher did a really good job with the character, and I'm really looking forward to what we get to see in this new version. Flash and Family. My favorite member of the Justice League, Ezra Miller's version of the Flash, served more as a comic relief than anything else in the original version of the film. I remember being kind of frustrated by this depiction, knowing how powerful the character actually is, but I understand that this was a very early version of the character. Well, apparently Zack Snyder had a lot more for Barry Allen to do in his version of the film, and we will get to see that now. I thought that his scenes with his father, played by Stillwater guitarist Billy Crudup, were really powerful, and we are set to see more of them, as well as a bit more of Barry's origin story, and the first time he used his powers to save someone, which will be his future love interest Iris West. He will also play a crucial role in the heroes being able to save the future by using his unique power set to change the course of events from happening, which will be a continuation of the brief scene we saw in Batman vs. Superman, in which an older Barry spoke to Bruce Wayne in a dream. Aquaman and Atlantis. The one member of the Justice League that probably had the least amount to do in the movie was Jason Momoa as Aquaman, which was unfortunate because I really liked his interpretation of the character. There were many scenes filmed in Atlantis that were cut from the film that will be added back into this version, which will include new scenes with Amber Heard as Mera, as well as William Dafoe as Vulko. We will also see a lot more backstory for the character and his ties to the dead king of Atlantis, which directly tie into the Aquaman solo movie. Also, the battle in which Steppenwolf retrieves one of the mother boxes from Atlantis will be much larger, and we will see more sea creatures involved in the battle, like the battles we saw in the Aquaman movie. Jason Momoa has been one of the most vocal actors in the movement to release this movie, and I love to see when actors take this much pride in their work, and it makes me like his character even more. Time travel. One of the main aspects of the new plotline for the Justice League will be the different ages or time periods the events take place in, and this film promises to be much vaster in its telling of the story. First, the battle in which Steppenwolf first tries to conquer Earth is rumored to be huge and take upwards of 10 minutes of continuous fighting. Although this will be long before any of the Justice League are in the story, we are sure to see Atlanteans, Green Lanterns, the Tribes of Men, Amazonians, and the Old Gods fight in a Lord of the Rings style battle. I honestly can't wait to see all the classic heroes we catch a glimpse of in this fight. We also see the Flash as well as some of the other heroes use time travel as a way to stop the destruction of humanity, which was sort of glossed over in the original Batman vs Superman movie. This was another aspect of the movie that was changed due to it being similar to the events of the MCU movie Endgame, but again, from what I hear, I think this is a much different take. We may also get to see what a sequel to this movie would look like if given the chance, and I think that if this movie is popular enough that the studio will be forced to listen to the fans again and produce another movie. Well, this is my list, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know I will be watching this movie when it comes out, and I hope you do too. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?